Zawardo! Ooh, greetings friends and welcome to the time slow / time stop ability guide. Friends, in this video I'm going to show you how to slow down time, I'm going to show you how to resume time, and I'm going to show you how to pause time entirely. Now we can make it so that your character is also affected by the time slow / the time pause, or we can make it so that the character is completely unaffected by the time things as well. Not only do we slow down the characters' animations as well as their projectiles, as you can see here, the projectiles are moving nice and slow after they've been fired, but I'm also going to show you how to actually adjust their movement speed and their movement animations. So for example, we've got this, and not only can they attack at different speeds, both slow and normal speed, but they'll also be able to move at different speeds as well as also sort of like watch our movement, you know, like track us with a look at rotator. So you're going to be able to slow down time, you're going to be able to pause it, and you're going to be able to affect the character's movement speed as well as their attack animations and movement animations and the speed of their projectiles. So yes, friends, we're going to go over a few things here, but by the end of it, you're going to be able to manipulate time in your dreams, which is something I know we've all wanted to do for a long time. I thought the time gadget would allow us to do that, and that's not been the case, but I still think this is, that's a great gadget, the time and date gadget, but now at last, you'll be able to manipulate time in dreams. Let's get stuck in. Oh, whoop whoop. First, we're going to look at our enemies, friends. So it's very important that you make all your own animations for this version of slowing down or stopping time, because procedural animations don't work. So you're going to want to go L1 and square into your particular enemy. I've just got a little gun for them over there, little pistol enemy. You're going to go to page 4, which is behavior, and then you're going to go to procedural animation and make sure all of these are turned off. The reason that we turn all of these off and make our own animations, so for example here I've just got a little walking animation. The reason, friends, that we do this is because, when we go L1 and square onto our timeline that we've got over here, we're able to actually change the playback speed and control the, well, pretty much just the speed. It looks like we're slowing down time just by reducing the speed of this playback section over here. So that's a really great feature, and is going to be pretty key to what we're going to be using over here. And yes, so that is why we use timelines. I've also got one, if I deactivate this over here, I've also got a little shoot timeline. And in this one, the character is going to cha-cha. They get sort of into their position, and they fire off a little bullet. Similarly, with the situation before, we can reduce the speed of it. And then when it plays, it goes a whole bunch slower. Goosh. Now I've already actually set up the little bullet to fire there. So now let's go a little bit over the logic that is inside these timelines. So we're going to go back to walk. And all that I have over here is a little follower. It's moving at 3 meters per second. We've got strength and damping at 100%, and it's moving towards the player. I've got a little player over here, and all that he has is he's got his own little walking animation, and then he's got a tag that says player. So when he moves, he will move towards this particular player thanks to this follower that he's got. So this follower will move him towards the player. Lovely stuff. Next up, if we deactivate that and we look at our little shoot timeline, what we've got here is just a little animation. Sorry, I've actually got the time still pretty slow there. We've got a little animation, and if we actually press play, you'll see he shoots our little bullet with a red trail. So all that we have there is just an emitter, nothing fancy. But what's very important to notice, friends, with this emitter is that it's actually emitting it at 0 speed, and it's only doing it once. The reason that we emit it at 0 speed is so that we can actually adjust the speed of its movement after it's been shot. If, for example, I emitted it at a particular speed, like 5 meters per second, that is the speed it will move at constantly, and there would be no way to adjust that after the bullet has been fired. And it's very important for slowing down time and bullet time and all these things, that the bullet speed can actually be slowed down while it's already flying. And all we need to do that, friends, is to go into our little bullet that I've made here, whatever projectile you use, and you're going to put down a mover. And it's very important also that you set the mover to be working on local space, because otherwise if it's set to sort of scene space, then your enemy could be looking one way, and then when they fire a bullet it'll be going in the wrong direction. You can make it pretty fast, but it all depends on the kind of speed and pace of your game. I've got it at 5.2 meters per second, and then I've just got 100 to strength and 100 to damping. And the reason that we use this mover is because we'll actually be able to adjust the speed of this. So all of these things, the speed of the follower, the speed at which our character physically moves, and the speed at which the bullet moves, all of these can be manipulated. Now let us actually get into how we will do that. So I'm going to turn off both of these timelines quickly. And now I'm going to create a little bit of a logic box. I call it my pink box. And I just put all my sort of scene logic in there. So I'm going to go to sculpt mode. I'm going to go guides. Going to make myself a nice pink box. And this pink box will have my logic in it. I'll turn off guides again. I'm going to go gadgets, logic and processing, and I'm going to pop down a microchip. Now in this microchip, I'm going to put down a little variable. So once again, logic and processing, variables are on the right. And this variable will be called time. So I'm going to call this one time. For the initial value, I'm going to make it 1. For the minimum value, I'm going to set it to 0.1. And for the max value, I'm going to make it 1. So what's the history behind, or what's the story behind these values? So 1 is, think of 1 as normal speed. We're moving at 1 times speed. The initial value is 1 because that's what we're going to be starting as. And then the minimum value, I've set it to 0.1. So that means that the slowest speed you can have is 0.1. So 10 times slower than the current time. So you can make it so that all these animations, attack animations and movement animations, as well as the speed of the bullet and how fast the character walks, can be made 10 times slower. We're going to start off with slowing down time rather than just stopping it, because of course when we slow down time, we're going to have a minimum value that's greater than 0, but when we stop time, that value is going to be 0. But more on that in a bit. For now, just make it min value 0.1, max value 1. Now what we're going to do is add in a little variable modifier, and this variable modifier is going to be connected to the variable time. The operation type is going to be get, because it's going to be gathering that particular value, whatever it is, and then what we're going to be doing is actually connecting it to our timelines. So I'm going to power on the walk timeline quickly. I'm going to connect it to the playback speed, just like that. To get to this menu, we go L1 and square on our particular timeline. That's looking cool. I'm also going to go to the shoot one, and I'm going to connect it to playback speed there as well. Once again, L1 and square to get to that point. But we're not done just yet, friends. We're also going to connect it to, we're going to go L1 and square on the follower, and we're going to connect it to speed. As you can see over here, we're connecting it to the number value. You can also just directly connect it to the speed, the little knob over there. And we're also then going to connect it to our mover inside of our bullet, and we'll connect it to just forward speed. It's sticking out on the left over there. Now something that's very important, friends, is that when we go into our emitter, we go L1 and square on our emitter, we go to the next page and we say emit with wires. Because at the moment the bullet is being emitted, and by default there are no wires on emitted objects. So even though I've got a wire connected to this variable modifier, it will emit it without wires by default. So by saying emit with wires, this bullet will be connected to the logic of our particular character there, which is lovely. So now, if I play this by default, let's just see the walking section. So the walking's looking pretty cool. He's moving, the animation's going, and we're having a good time. Now if I reduce the speed to like 10 times slower, we can see that the character is moving loads slower, and the animation, of course, is also super duper slow. So we can see that we've now demonstrated how to slow down time in terms of walking and, of course, the speed and the animation both. Let's turn that off now, and now let's have a look at the shooting, because this is a very important part. Or whatever, you know, attacking. You can also have melee characters, so on and so forth. We can see the animation slow, and when the character shoots the bullet, as you can see, it was a little bit off there. So you might want to make this a bit bigger and just make it so that maybe it's like at this stage the position of your emitter, so that it's kind of like as the gun sort of moves up rather than when it gets to that position, the kind of recoil, if you know what I mean. And maybe it starts around there. That seems cool. Okay, so it goes there. We can see it's nice and slow. That's looking cool. And then boom, the bullet sort of fires, and as you can see, it is loads slower now. We've got a nice sort of bullet time situation going on. And potentially another thing you might want to do, friends, is actually slow down the paint strokes. So you can do that just as before. What we're going to do is we're going to go L1 and square on our paint strokes. I've actually got a bunch of different ones here. You can also, of course, merge these paintings. I'm not sure what that's actually going to look like, so let's just have a look to see what happens there. Whooshing. Oh, I merged them and it kind of made it look crap. Okay, forget merging them. I won't merge them. But what you can do is, for example, I might want to actually like redo this actually. So let's redo the sort of paint stroke trail behind from the beginning. We're gonna go grid snap. We're gonna give it a nice red. And rather than making it a bunch of paint strokes like I did there, I'm just gonna make it one longish line, fairly central if we can, and I'll set it to maybe rule flex, although brush flex is totally fine as well. And I'm just gonna go yeehaw. So we have a fairly long trail of strokes. Cha cha cha. Now let's group these chaps together. L1 and square on the paint strokes, brighten them up. We'll go animation, increase the playback speed fairly significantly. We'll be in the sort of thousands range. Then we'll go pulse, trail length 100%, and add a jet trail. And now we might need to just double check that it's emitting the whole situation, the bullet and the paint stroke. Okay, looks like it is. And it was looking a little bit. I'm not 100% happy with how it's looking there. We could always make it so that it doesn't pulse and it's just sort of like a solid. That might be a little bit better. It has a bit of a snaky vibe going on there. Okay, sweet. So that's what we're gonna have it as for now. We'll have that speed at whatever it is. And then if you like want to make it so that the speed at which the strokes sort of move is also slowed down, what you'll do is you'll go L1 and square into your particular paint stroke. You'll go to animation, and of course you'll have your particular playback speed, and you can connect that here as well. So friends, not only can you slow down animations and movement speed and emitting speed, sorry, not emitting speed, but like mover speed and follower speed, you can also slow down the speed at which paint strokes are animated. So we'll make it go super slow now. And that animation is looking good. The movement of the bullet is looking good. when it eventually fires. And now we can see that the paint stroke is actually slowed down a bit as well. And you get the sense that it's actually moving more slowly. That actually looks pretty cool. So you see how the paint stroke was animating there. If we speed it up again, we'll see that it's a lot faster. So there's actually a whole bunch of things you can make look like more slow-mo. And that's looking pretty awesome, friends, I must say. So that's pretty much all there is to it, friends, when it comes to slowing down time. But now let's actually turn it into an ability. So as we can see, we can slow down this bullet just by changing the value of the variable. But how do we actually turn this into an ability that our character can use? Well, let's go over to our player. We'll set the time to 1. It's sort of default value. And let's go over to our player themselves. So with our player, we can make it that they are entirely unaffected by time being slowed down. If that's the case, then procedural animation will work totally fine, and you can put all your procedural animation back on and have a great time. That's what we'll do for the moment. We'll make it so that when our character slows down time, they're completely unaffected. So that's pretty cool. If you wanted to make it so that you are also affected by time, then you'll just make all your own animations like we've done. And I've got sort of some backups here. We don't need the follower, of course. But we've got some backups here. Backup animations if we do want to do that. But for now, we'll just keep it procedural. So to slow down time, what we're going to do is we're going to go animate. We're going to go timeline. And then we'll animate us a little ability. We'll make it so that our character sort of, you know, does a little stance. They're gonna sort of like lower their hand and then stick it in the air as they summon their stand. Yeah. Hooah. Cha-chang. Let's straighten up those legs, hand in the air. And if the animation looks a bit janky, you can just press X and then go IK to FK, which is a fabulous new feature that I freaking love. Okay, sweet. So we go here. Yeah. And let's increase the length of that keyframe so it stays for a bit. And then add another keyframe so that the character sort of goes back to the default. So they go here. They stick their hand in the air, it stays for a bit, and then they return to their default position. That's looking pretty cool. Time slow. Yeah, okay. That animation is looking fun. I won't spend too much time on that. And now we're going to go gadgets, and we're going to go variable modifier. This is in logic and processing, of course. And this variable modifier is going to affect the variable, which is time. It's going to add, the operation type is add. We're going to say update type continuously while powered. And then we're going to make it negative 0.02. So you might be like, yo, mean lad, that's a pretty tiny value, mate. But the rate at which continuously while powered updates it is like very, very small amounts of time. So by doing it like this, it'll reduce our time to its minimum value in like 1 or 2 seconds. So I'm just gonna bring the pink box over here, and I'm gonna just sort of so that we can see our value for time. I'm gonna play this animation, and as you can see here, let's do it again. We can see that the value of time is getting reduced very considerably. So the character shoots, but then time slows down. And the bullet moves slower, the paint stroke animates slower. Oh my word, this looks so cool. If I do toot my own horn, please excuse me. But it does look very, very cool. Sweet. So we do it, the bullet sort of slows down, the character takes a shot, the bullet slows down, and then we'd be able to, you know, jump out of the way. So I'm going to rename this timeline time slow. Lovely jubbly. And we could make it so that, okay, cool, I'm going to slow down time with a press of the R2 button, let's say. And then if you wanted to speed up time with the, you know, the L2 button or whatever, all you do is you'd copy the entire timeline. You would then go into it, and in the variable modifier, you would just make it, rather than 0.02, you'd make it, rather than negative 0.02, you just make it positive. So you reduce the negative sign, and now it will speed time up again. So I'm going to quickly jump in. Oh goodness. Okay, I'm going to quickly jump in, and then I'm going to go, I must also make these playback modes set to once. Lovely stuff. So this chap shoots a bullet. Whoa, that's looking cool. I'm going to do my time slow. Oh, sorry, he didn't actually, I should put it on loop so that he sort of continuously does it. Oopsie. Ooh, he's taking a shot, I'm going to slow down time. So now the bullets are moving loads faster. I mean slower. That's looking cool. He's trying to take pot shots at me as he does. But of course I can just dodge them. But if I then speed up time again, whoop, whoop, now the bullets are going for me and they're knocking me. Oof. Oof. So as you can see, we can... Oh no. Mate, this is so cool. Yo, someone call super hot. They might need to sue me for this video there. But I guess bullet time is, you know, it's fair use, you know. Whoa. Oh, yo, that was cool. Anyway, so here we have our slowing down and speeding up time. And friends, that's pretty much all you need to do in order to you know, slow down and speed up time as it is. You can do this with all sorts of animations. You can do it with you know, melee attacks and literally everything. All you need is to have a timeline, and you must just make sure that you aren't using any procedural animation, because if you use procedural animation, you could slow down your character's movement very easily, but you know, their legs are still going to be moving as if it were what's the word, normal time. You know, it's not going to be sort of working to the extent that you would want to have like complete control over it. But yes, with attack animations and stuff, it's easy peasy. But yes, friends, I've showed you how to slow down time and speed it up again. But I also want to show you how to stop time entirely. So we'll have like a real time is frozen sort of moment. So for that, friends, we can copy this timeline for the third time. And then what we'll do is we'll connect it to, let's say, L1. So when I press the L1 button as my character, it's going to stop time. So I'm going to say time slow. I'm going to say time sort of resume, as it were. Time resume. And then for this one, I'll call it time stop, just so that our naming system is fairly, it makes a bit of sense. And we're going to slow down time just as before, but we're also going to have another little bit of logic. So I'm just going to add a little counter here. And so when I press L1, it's actually going to add 1 to the counter. When it's added 1 to the counter, it's going to power this timeline. It's going to play it once, so it's going to be powered. It's also going to be connected to restart timeline. So every time I press L1, it's going to play this time stop sort of situation. But not only that, friends, we're also going to add in a little keyframe, and this is the last thing that we do, a keyframe. And this keyframe is going to reduce the minimum value to 0. So now what we have got is a counter connected to L1. It's going to power this timeline, which is the time stop timeline, and then it is going to reduce the minimum value of time, the time variable, to 0. So we'll say reduce to 0. which means that when we reduce time, it can go to 0. In other words, time will be stopped. These things won't move at all, and the character won't be able to move or do their animations. Time will be completely stopped when we have this chap powered. So I'm going to go like this, and then I'm going to press L1, time stop, beep. So as you can see, these bullets are now stuck in time. This is stuck in time. This dude is stuck in time, but he's still following me, which is good because this is why we sort of test things to make sure that everything works. So we're going to look at our enemy over here, and we're going to go to behavior, and I've actually got turn towards player on. Now, nothing in my time variable, time slow, time stop situation, nothing there is actually affecting this. So it's just going to carry on as per normal. So what we can do, friends, is we can make it so that when time is stopped, we can have turn towards player turned off entirely. Or what we can do, friends, is we can make it so that we have a little bit of logic that is entirely adjustable as well, which is the good old look at rotator. So I'm just going to make it so that turn towards player is off, and I'm going to make it so that the look at rotator is on. It's going to look for the player, strength 100, damping 100, and it's going to, we'll also put the old grid snap on and make sure that the arrow is pointing forwards. Whoops, the arrow is pointing forwards, and it's going to be, you know, looking for the player. So if I move this way, the old chap is going to be looking for me, and that's cool. Whooshoe. So this is an example of where it's maybe a slightly better idea to use, rather than the built-in logic, which is super useful, this is a useful example of how you can actually sort of use it to improve things in such a way that they work with your time. So by default, time won't affect it at all, but when you add your own piece of logic that has a few more options, you can actually adjust it. And of course, the way that we're going to adjust it is we're going to go variable modifier time and connect it to the rotation speed. So now, when time is slowed down, so he's watching me, he's watching me, he's watching me. If I slow down time with R2, then he's looking for me, but as you can see, he's also looking a little bit slower as well. And if I slow down time entirely with L1, then what happens is he's not looking at me at all because the rotation speed has been reduced entirely. So I didn't explain that very well, but I hope you get the picture. Basically, use gadgets because they're more easy to adjust. Built-in logic is super useful, super great, but these just have a few more options. That's the sort of summarized version. And yes, friends, so in order to resume time now, what we'll do is that, okay, we know that R2 slows down time, and then L2 is our sort of resume time. So what we'll do is we'll say when you press L2, it'll actually reduce the count. When the count is not full, it's going to have reduced to 0 turned off, and it's going to have, we're not going to be doing a time stop animation, and time will resume itself. So this chap takes a shot. I slow down time. That's looking pretty cool. Let me speed up time now. Okay, that's sweet. Now let me pause time entirely. Time has been slowed down entirely. And now if I resume time again, we carry on. And of course I can slow it. I can stop it. Sorry, like one thing that looks a little bit janky is the old paint strokes. When you stop the paint strokes entirely, it does look a little bit janky. So that is something that should maybe have like a slight improvement on. As you can see there, it's not the best. It's not the best when it slows down, when it gets stopped. I'm not 100% sure how I would fix that at the moment, friends. But I would say that just something to note, maybe something to experiment with. Anyway, friends, this is the extent of my brain knowledge at the moment. So I did have a little bit of logic set up beforehand. I hope that wasn't too confusing, friends. Do let me know if you have any questions or are confused about anything. But this is how you create a little bit of a time-based system. And of course, friends, if you want to slow down your character as well, then what you would do for that is you'd basically just connect. As before, you'd connect time to your let's go gadgets, logic and processing, get us this nice chap. What you'll do is you'll disconnect all the procedural animation, chop chop chop, and then you'll go okay sweet, you know, you'll slow down time. We'll go time, we'll get the value, and then we will connect it to the old timeline. We'll power this chap on. It's also very important that you basically reduce all the movement sort of stuff that's going on over here. You can reduce those sorts of things. Or actually, sorry, you won't reduce these. What you'll do is you'll also connect your time variable to these. So you'll connect it to run, walk, and turn speed. So now, if you move, it's not the best animation ever, like, I'll be honest. But if I now slow down time, sorry, that was speed up time. If I slow down time, my chap can now still move, even though it's slightly slow. So he's doing like a little bit of a slow-mo. So that's all there is to it, friends. You can slow your time down, yourself down as well. If you feel like your character's moving too fast, you can of course, you know, if you want your character to move at like one speed, then what you can do is just, for example, delete the run and like take away the run. Maybe make your walk speed something like 3.5, whatever it is. Oh, friends, and also what you're going to do is you're going to connect the left stick to the timeline, in other words, the power of the little walk animation that we've got there, so that you aren't sort of walking while you're standing in place. So at the moment, whoa, I've just made a bunch of copies of dudes. Ooh, sorry, I haven't set up the animation of the walking to be like super great. It sort of matches better with the actual enemies. But, hooah, yeah. At the moment, I've got a bunch of enemies running after me, and it's actually already pretty fun. I'm just going to slow down time quick. Whoa, oh, yo, that bullet just whacked me. So now, here you are. You're able to just like dodge the bullets as they go past, and you can speed time up again. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Slow down time. And I mean, I don't know, friends, I don't know about you, but even just at the moment, I'm already having a great time, even though it's just like one character getting shot at by others. It's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. Whoa, you can just sort of weave between the bullets. Yeah, no, it's pretty great. If you want your character to move slower but at like a slightly faster speed than your enemies, what you can do is you can just make like a time and then like a player time variable, and then connect it here so that like your character moves slightly faster. Or if you want your character to be completely unimpeded, then you don't have to worry about making custom animations for movement or any of this business. You can just carry on as you wish. But yeah, so here we are, we've slowed down time. If you want to make other adjustments like, ooh, like me, lad, this is cool, but like time takes a little bit too long to slow down. Yo, wow, this is enjoyable. If you're like, time takes a little bit too long to slow down, that's totally cool, mate. Then all you have to do is go to this and increase it by, let's make it like 0.4, or sorry, 0.04. Now when I slow down time, zip, it's much faster. Just keep in mind that you're only increasing it by very small amounts. Because, for example, if you made it like a large value, like 0.1, it would pretty much basically be like almost instantaneous. So, zip. So as you can see, that was like barely even like a fraction of a second for time to slow down, which is totally cool if that's what you want to do. But I quite like it if there's like a bit of a slow transition to time being slowed down. So I think maybe Negative 0.03 is probably pretty good. So that was pretty cool because you can see the bullets moving, but you also get that sense of them slowing down. Not instantly, but like you can see the time slow having its effect. Anyway, so that is looking pretty fabulous, friends. I'm not sure if this is what exactly you were after. This is the kind of vibe I was going. It's very much super hot inspired. Uh, I hope this video doesn't get taken down, in fact, because it's very super hot inspired in appearance and vibes. But yeah, so that's essentially my system for slowing down time, resuming time, and stopping it. And all you basically need is a variable that you connect to your things. Procedural animation is a no-no, and with the use of this, you can do all sorts of things. Actually, one last thing I want to show you is that you can also do like explosions and slow down explosions, which I think is like super great. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of an explosion, just a little bit of this and that, a bit of squiggling. Rotational duplicates, add a little bit of brightness. I might actually also add some straighter strokes. Swing, swing. Okay, sweet. So now when this explodes, how you make something explode is you'll increase the playback speed, you'll go pulse, and you'll turn off loop. So it'll go swing, but you'll increase it quite significantly, the playback speed. That's looking pretty cool. Boo. Boo. Maybe even a tiny bit more. I'm also going to go to this and just try and make sure that everything is kind of coming from, it looks like it's coming from the same point. So it looks more like a explosion from an impact rather than like a fireworks thing. Okay, that's looking pretty sweet. And just like with this, just like with everything else that we've done in the scene, and like with the paint strokes there, you can actually connect this to, well, actually just connect it to this one here just to sort of demonstrate. L1 and square, go to animation and then connect it to playback speed. And now if I sort of slow down time, let's make it like 0.1, you can slow that down entirely. Let me, for example, just like emit this a bunch of times so I can show you what I'm talking about. I'll just like emit it every 2.5 seconds. So we've got our little explosion. Oh, and of course, what do you have to do? We're like, why isn't it slowed down like everything else? Because I didn't emit it with wires. So we ensure that we emit it with wires. And now time is slowed down. The explosion sort of happens quite slowly. Now I'm going to speed. I'm going to speed time up again. So that's looking pretty cool. We've got a little explosion, and of course I can stop time. And what's just like super epic about this is, yeah, the explosion is like frozen in like mid-explosion, which I find like a really cool feature. So if that's something that you wanted to try out, that's something you can do as well. You can like freeze explosions in mid-air and all that sort of business. You could connect it to your bullets, for example, and when your bullet like hits the character or hits a wall or whatever, then it like emits an explosion. Just like that. Literally, this is all you need. But yes, friends, I hope you found this video useful. I had a lot of fun making it, and yeah, I know, quite a bit of fun, in this tutorial now, just messing around and trying to dodge bullets and so on and so forth. Whoa, oh my goodness. Yes, friends, I hope you found it. I hope you found it to be useful, and maybe even a little bit fun, and that you'll be able to add it into your own dreams. Like, I've been wanting to do stuff with time for ages, and when I saw the time gadget in the newest update, I got super excited. But it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. It's a time and date gadget, which is cool. But my desire for slowing down time in dreams was not diminished. So I was like, I want to actually make a tutorial. I'm sure everyone would be keen on it. So here it is, friends. I hope you enjoyed it, and I shall catch you on the flip, flop. Peace out, friends.